Today we have Thomas Bessiere with us. Thomas is the founder and chief executive of HINFACT, a company built around advanced data management for the pilot training. He trained as an airspace engineer at Super and Polytechnic, spent a few years in Airbus doing AI to aircraft, using AI for aircraft performance optimization, then moving on into strategy consulting for major aerospace companies. At APATS 2026 in Bangkok, Thomas will be arguing that the wall between training management and safety management needs to come down and showing us what the alternative looks like. Hello, Thomas. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Jacques, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you very much.
You described training and safety as two things that have, I would say, run in parallel. Why was that disconnect persisted for so long, and what does it cost the industry?
Yes, it's an interesting question. This disconnect is not accidental. It's kind of structural. Training and safety grew up in two different worlds, two departments, two languages, and often two IT systems that don't talk to each other. Training looks forward, preparing crews to new challenges, and safety looks backward, analyzing what happened to solve the problems that happened. The result is that safety builds priceless knowledge about the real risks in operations, but that knowledge rarely reaches the training programs dynamically. And the reverse is just as true. And the cost is that we train against generic risks, while our own data is showing us specific ones. And we repeat the same incidents because the learning loop is never or rarely closed dynamically at the individual level as well.
Now, your model that you're talking about proposes a two-way data flow, operational and safety data feeding into training, and CBTA outcomes feeding back into the SMS. What does that loop look like in practice, and what changes for the instructor or training manager on the ground will be involved?
Yes, first, the most common way is from safety to training feedback. So today it exists thanks to the safety review boards or this kind of organs that exist in the airlines. But what is interesting is how can we make it more dynamic? And that means that based on the data we can collect from flight data monitoring, safety occurrence reports, etc., how can we dynamically introduce analysis and countermeasure into the training programs of the individuals that goes into the recurrent training? So this is the first loop. It's not something new here, but how can we make it more dynamic and not waiting for the next review board in 1 year or 6 months first? And the second runs from training back into the safety. CBTA, so competency-based training and assessments, outcomes are becoming more and more common in the training industry. And it's very interesting to see how we can get this data coming from the training, the assessment of the competencies, observable behaviors we can detect through the training, link it to the risks and to the safety risks in the training, and feed the safety risk analysis. How can we have a better picture and better view on the real risks based also on the safety data that are really rich and not enough used, unfortunately. So this two ways loop is very, very interesting, we think, and has to be more and more dynamic. And thanks to the tools, we think that it's possible now.
Now, moving from binary pass-fail to multi-dimensional performance evaluation is a significant shift for regulators and operators. Now, what is the most realistic path to getting there? Where do you see the biggest resistance?
The realistic path is not to flip everything at once. The pass-fail approach doesn't disappear. Authorities need it for compliance still, but we can enrich it first. we keep the final decision, but we capture the full performance across the competencies over time. You start by measuring this in parallel by giving the opportunity to add this information as an instructor during the session, during the training sessions, or during the assessments. And little by little, it will be used and more used, also thanks to the standardization of the instructors to use this new framework. And we think that the biggest resistance is not technical, it's cultural. An examiner used to saying pass or fail has to learn to describe a nuanced performed, and that exposes their judgment in the end. And authorities have a legitimate fear that nuance becomes a way to hide a kind of failure, probably. The answer here for us, it's the mandatory point, is how can we better standardize instructors grading in this new way of assessing the nuances. And technology is a tool, but also the good standards in the airlines is the key, I think.
For an airline that wants to start closing the loop between its TMS and SMS today, what is the first concrete step they should take? Except, of course, taking a good consultant.
Of course, I think to be very concrete and simple, I would say, just start by getting your top 5 risks you identified through the SMS as an airline, and ask your training team to show you concretely where it is in the training programs and where it is covered first. And what you can see in 9 times out of 10, you will find some interesting first discussions. This is the first concrete step. And after, if you want to move forward and go into a more dynamic loop to get into this this change, the important thing is to align the taxonomies between the training and the safety. Today, these two departments or areas doesn't talk the same language, and the first step is to align these taxonomies so you can link your data in a proper way and start to have a good loop and dynamic loop. This is what I can suggest.
A lot of things can happen if people start talking to each other, and it is not different in this case. If the safety people and the training people agree to sit together and try to see what is missing, then we'll have the first step done. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your presentation, and see you back in Bangkok. Thank you.
Thank you very much.